Hello, Saskia, devotional goddess here. It's been a while. There's been lots going on. The kids were sick this week, and I just taught my prenatal Sunday morning yoga class. I teach it bi-weekly here in this beautiful yoga space. And I started class, and I was like, I had an octal migraine. Do you know what that is? It's when out one or both of your eyes, it gets all jaggedy. It's like a kaleidoscope. It looks like a kaleidoscope on the peripheral of your eye. It's quite beautiful, really, but it's obviously disturbing and not pleasant. So I settled into class. I dropped into my breath, and it passed because I allowed myself to settle and to re-regulate my breath. I was teaching a calming class, but I was still teaching. But I was able to hold the space, yet still self-care, still regulate, even as I was holding the space for my students. So that was a really good witness for myself. And my question to you is, when you get a physical ailment, do you ever pause to reflect upon how it came about? Being your own spiritual detective is a very good practice to cultivate, because what it does is it helps us to see cause and effect. Now, of course, there's always a caveat with that. If you practice this, which I encourage you do it with loving kindness, because it's very easy for us to reflect back and then berate ourselves. So, in tandem with being that spiritual detective and going back and reflecting upon how symptoms have come about, also have it in tandem with loving kindness, with being respectful and compassionate with yourself as you go in that process. This is so important. Otherwise, you won't be benefiting from the exercise, from the practice. So having that moment, while I had my students in a restorative posture, it gave me a moment to pause and be reflective. Now, one of the things that I did is I just sat and I cupped my hands over my eyes and just found my breath and became as still as I could. And that really was a shifting pivot point in releasing the ocular migraine. But as I reflected back, I was like, I was excited this morning. I went for a morning walk. I took in the sunrise. But there was pressure that I had on myself. There was a rushing with it in the course of the morning because I realized, I got to be to class on time. So I got done what I wanted to get done. But it wasn't in a soft, steady manner. There was some frenetic energy in there with it. I finished my breakfast in the car while driving. I rarely do that. And I'm trying to eliminate that practice or that, what's the word? Fail safe, get the food in before you teach or before you go somewhere practice, because I don't want to multitask like that. I don't want to live like that. I want to eat when I eat, and I want to savor my food, and I want to be present with the process of eating. And I don't want to be multitasking, especially not when I'm taking in food that I've lovingly prepared. So that's another practice for another video. However, it's not just this morning that I need to take into consideration. I was really busy all day yesterday. I had the intention for going out. I could feel it was a beautiful day. I could feel my body being drawn to being outside. But one thing led to another and I never made it. I also had a conversation that I found stressful and that caused anxiety. And other emotions too. And then when I reflect back and look back a little, widen the lens and look back a little further, the kids were sick this week. They had that gastrointestinal bug and they were throwing up. I did not get it, thankfully. My immune didn't take it on, wasn't depleted. But I was up caretaking and I was off. I was certainly off. So my body was fighting it to whatever capacity it was taking on. It didn't reach full form, thank goodness. But I was resting when the girls were resting and I was having quiet time when the girls were having quiet time. But I was still mum. So all of those components together is what I sat with in order to hold myself in compassion and to say, okay, note to self, this is what brought it on. Now, in this process of reflecting, it gives us information. The honoring that we are depleted, even though on the surface we can get everything done. Where are you running on empty? Or where is your mind overriding? And is there a mental agitation due to fatigue, due to anxiety, due to whatever emotional residue is in the body? Or is it a physical agitation? Is it your knee that's bothering you? Pause. Oh my goodness, I whacked it the other day. Or I was carrying something heavy. And due to me compensating carrying something that was heavy, I put more weight on my dominant leg and my knee took the brunt. We can pace back and we can begin to bear witness as to where and how injury occurs, symptoms occur. But it is a practice to cultivate. And I love how my yoga teacher all those years ago framed it as being a spiritual detective. Because it is. It's going back and referencing. Now, obviously after the year that I've had, there's a lot more digesting that I'm still doing in many ways and will for quite a while from my cancer journey. And there's still a lot of digesting, but I have had some wonderful insights and gems over the last couple of weeks in taking ownership of the journey. And all of those steps allow us to allow for healing to come in. And this is important. So for me, I'm going to run some errands on the way home. But as I'm running these errands, I'm going to stay present to my breath. I'm going to stay connected to my breath and anchored in my physical body and in this present moment. When I get home, I might eat a snack, but I'm going to go rest and take a restorative pose myself, similar to one of the poses that I just put my prenatal mamas in order to give back to myself. So contemplate this week. Life gives us ample opportunities to reflect. Sometimes it comes out in our words or our actions, not necessarily in our physical being, in our physical symptoms. Why did I lash out? Why did I snap? What made that person trigger me? Take it back to self. What's going on in my body that I'm feeling triggered? The answer may not come in that moment, but the act of posing the question will allow for the answer to arise. And it might happen, in those moments in the bathroom, shower, toilet. Those are those quiet moments that we tend to have with no one else around. And then, oops, I just had an epiphany, or I just had an insight. But know that they happen in those environments because you tend to be alone. So how else can you create that environment of stillness so that you can have moments of insight and moments of clarity so that you know what to ask? Because that's part of it too. Sometimes we can't see what the question is. But once we have the question, the answers will come. Many blessings. Please share comments, insights, if this resonates. And let me know, are there any other topics that you would like me to speak upon? If it resonates and you think a friend may benefit from what I've shared, please share it. If it benefits you, it may benefit others. And that's what this time is about community, supporting each other, and supporting each other to rise up, to heal from within. And if you need guidance in any shape or form, book a session with me. It will be my absolute pleasure and honor to work with you and to mentor you through your healing process. Many blessings, much love.